Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Switch Heads, the premier Nintendo podcast in all of the internet. My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
And my name is David Howe.
And it's us. We're all three here.
Just us.
Coming into your eardrums.
No guests.
No guests for this week. This main topic of today's episode is all about speculation in the July Direct. Will Nintendo, won't Nintendo? We're going to answer that right now and definitely figure it out. At least talk about it. Also, in the
full
news,
disclosure, Nintendo has not announced a Direct for July. So we are speculating on a Direct that may or may not even be. We have other topics we can do. We just wanted to do this one.
Yes, it is fun for us and hopefully fun for you. And
Yes.
in the news section, we're going to hear David gush all about Donkey Kong Country coming to the Nintendo Switch Online. Talk about some of the Paper Mario reviews that came out and the Paper Mario Nintendo Treehouse video that was released, Devolver Direct, and the Ubisoft Forward event.
Yeah.
Before we get started,
Very good.
how y'all doing?
I'm doing pretty good today.
Yeah, doing pretty good. Yeah, not too bad.
I'll be honest that when I've said that the past few weeks, I don't know that it's been true, but this time it is. I'm doing better this week.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good week for me for the most part. I've been working a lot, and today I took my Joy-Cons to the UPS store to send them out to Nintendo, all 4 of them. So hopefully I get that back by the time we do the next episode, and I can tell you guys about my experience sending out those Joy-Cons. I did have.
What are you doing right now?
What do you mean?
No
Like
handheld? No handheld play?
No handheld play.
you
I'm having to only play on the TV. No more Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics co-op or local multiplayer because you need the Joy-Cons for that. I had to actually call Nintendo and amend my like issues that I was having with them because like not only are the Joy-Cons, they all have drift, but also they've been disconnecting from the system as I've been playing games and I'll no longer like have control. But then I also looked that up and I think that might be an issue that might have been fixed in the most recent patch.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. There was also another issue with my like right blue Joy-Con where like the lights on the side don't work. So it wouldn't connect as a single Joy-Con like horizontally. And I was telling the Nintendo rep on the phone all this, just like amending my thing. And she was like, wow, it seems like you have every single problem with all your Joy-Cons. And I was like, yeah, please give me new Joy-Cons. I don't want any of these back. Please give me new ones. So we'll see how it goes. And I hope to report in a week that I have my Joy-Cons back, but time will certainly tell.
Yeah. I feel like it took about 10 days when I sent mine in, but I could be wrong.
Really? Okay.
And I need to send mine in again.
See. This is also, you didn't send yours in during COVID-19, so we'll see.
No, which I might,
the time at which stuff comes back. So, yeah. But how about you, Matt? Are you having a pretty good week?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Not too good.
Pretty standard.
None of you guys have any Nintendo customer service stories from this past week?
Nope.
No, sorry, David. You're alone in that one.
But last week we did talk about lore and world building and that kind of thing on the show. And we heard from some of our listeners and our friends, Austin, who on Discord talked to us a little bit about Fire Emblem and kind of expanded on some of what we talked about with that there. And Emma and Dan both mentioned Zelda. And Emma also mentioned Kingdom Hearts, which we talked about. And our guest from last week, Celeste, chimed in on the Discord too. So we love to generate discussion. Mm-hmm. And Todd and Ant are going to get all the other Keeps Gaming relatives to come check out our podcast. I think I mentioned on YouTube. And then I want to apologize to this person, whoever they are. Fishy Bulby gave us a 5-star review on Apple a long time ago. I've been meaning to put this on the show notes. It was back in May. And I kept thinking I've done this, right? And then I looked back and I finally realized I hadn't.
Thank you, Fishy Bulby, for the review.
Fishy Bulby.
Also, if you guys were interested in the lore episode, there's quite a few things, like you were saying in our Discord. Celeste posted a video about some of the Breath of the Wild lore. And I found a video that was just uploaded the other day that goes into the lore about ARMS, which I posted that to the Facebook group. So if you're not on our Facebook group, be sure to join that and check out some of those videos, because ARMS has a very interesting lore and backstory to it that you don't really find in the game. So yeah, some good resources for you.
Very nice. Well, we're going to get into all the news and rumors for the week, and there's a lot of them. We had to make some cuts and decide what to include this time. So first up, like Matt said, Donkey Kong Country was added to NSO, the Super Nintendo online app, and also Natsume Championship Wrestling, as well as The Immortal for the NES. I'm not familiar with those games other than Donkey Kong Country. Obviously, I'm familiar with one of the greatest games of all time, maybe. I don't know.
At least for the Super Nintendo, yeah.
Great.
Donkey Kong Country is great.
Big Super Nintendo game.
It's a great Donkey Kong Country
really,
is an incredible game, but it's not even the best Donkey Kong Country game. But still, I'm very much looking forward to playing this in handheld mode whenever I get my Joy-Cons back.
We might have to rank those Donkey Kong Country games at some point.
2, 1, 3, easy, done.
What about Tropical Freeze and?
Okay, yeah, we'll do an episode on that then. The Japanese Nintendo Switch Online is actually getting different games. Instead of Natsume Championship Wrestling, they're actually getting Shin Megami Tensei, which is pretty cool. So I guess Shin Megami Tensei did eventually come to the Switch, just not in the way that anybody was expecting it.
And then, like you were talking about, David, about your Joy-Con not connecting, we got a Switch system update, and all the patch notes say are stability. But there's been speculation that the previous update, we're now on 10.1.0, but the previous update, which was like 10.0.3 or something like that, may have caused that issue. Because I've had it once or twice, not like I haven't been plagued with it like I know some people have, but I've heard that people's Joy-Cons aren't experiencing the same issues now with this update. So it just came out.
We'll see. I mean, for me, it was like I was having the issue whenever I'd be playing like really intense games that use the stick quite a bit. It's like, and I would have like if it nudged even slightly, it would get disconnected. I have to take the Joy-Con off and put it back on in order for them to connect again. I was mainly seeing it in like Star Wars Racer, because it's kind of a very fast paced game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll see if that actually does fix it. I don't understand how that would be a software issue, but
yeah, well, the Joy-Cons get updated, or like you can, the Joy-Cons themselves can get updated through these, right? And I think they did a Joy-Con update in this one, so maybe that's part of it. I don't know. That's a great question, though. I'm
so glad, though, that the Switch is so stable now. I'm really thankful for that.
And on the topic of updates, a game that we here at the podcast love, Killer Queen Black, is getting an update. They are doing what's called the Beetlejuice update, but this is spelled differently than you might expect, which is adding
spelled
a new
like
map.
The original Beetlejuice, like the billions of years old Beetlejuice, not the one from the 80s.
Not the movie. So it looks like they're adding a bunch of sort of party quality of life issues, as well as a new map and some other stuff. So that's pretty cool. I don't know when that is supposed to go live. I did not see that information out there.
I think it's live now.
Right now? It's like already happened?
I think so.
There you go.
I might be wrong, but
I think you might be right, because that's the way it kind of reads. It doesn't
Yeah.
really give a date. It's like, hey, this is the update. So that's cool. And then, like Matt said, Paper Mario reviews are out. So a lot of your typical video game review websites, IGN, all that stuff, have been putting out reviews and talking about the game. Have y'all read any of these, or glanced at any of these, or picked up the gist?
Just an overall consensus of that the battle system doesn't meet the expectation of whoever's reviewing it. Is, pretty much the general consensus. Like, people want a traditional building experience or an experience system, like any RPG.
Yeah, that's what people are upset about, or hoping that this game would have an experience system, but it doesn't, which makes the battles arguably not important. Though I have heard that coins matter and you make coins from the battles, but I can see why that's a criticism, right? Like, sounds like these enemies respawn, and if you were going back through an area because it's kind of open worldy, why would you want to fight people if you can't gain something from it?
Yeah, for sure. And it seems like a bit of a shame because they've clearly put a ton of work into this very unique battle system. And it seems like most of the reviewers that I've been hearing, are saying that there's not really much of a point to go into random battles, right? Like other than the ones that are required for the story. Which is kind of a shame because it seems like it is a fun battle system, but that it's just like it's more efficient to skip them outright because you don't need the coins ultimately. So we'll see. I'd like to try it myself before I really jump to any conclusions on that. It does seem like a fun battle system to me. I like a good puzzle. So yeah, I'm still excited to play the game. But yeah, I've been looking more at Ghost of Tsushima reviews anyway.
But also it sounds like for Paper Mario, the exploration and the charm of the game are pretty much every review is saying that that's good. Like it's got good, fun to do those things and kind of play through it. So hopefully that makes up for it if the battle system is lacking.
Yeah, definitely the star of the show in a Paper Mario game is the writing anyway. So as long as that's consistent, I think most people will be enjoying this game. We'll talk more about this next week. We have a whole episode on Paper Mario for you guys next week.
And out of nowhere, almost, Nintendo announced a Treehouse event for Paper Mario where they showed off some of the game. And they also said that there would be a new Way Forward game shown off, where Way Forward would work with a IP they've never worked for and everybody worked on. And everybody assumed that meant a Nintendo IP. And then they had to Nintendo of America had to tweet out, by the way, it's a third-party game. And then the announcement happened, and it's a Bakugan game, Bakugan Champions of Vestroia. I don't know anything about Bakugan.
Nor does most people, I think.
It's like an action figure collecting sort of Pokemon type thing,
it's a
right?
TV show. Right.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but this exists.
Basically, after Pokemon came out, like Digimon came out, and like Yu-Gi-Oh came out, and then Bakugan came out,
Right.
and and fucking what battle bots? Not battle bots, but you know what I'm saying? Like Beetleborgs, or I don't know. Bakugan was after my time, and it's before the time of the people that are now probably the ones that would be buying this game. So I don't really know who this game is for, honestly.
Yeah. So it's a Switch exclusive. I don't know a whole lot about Way Forward, but if you're out there and listening, you don't either. They make the Shantae games. Mm-hmm. And they also apparently make these sorts of games to fund their own things. They make third party or like license out games.
Yeah, they did the Mummy Demastered, that like Metroidvania tie-in game for the Universal Mummy movie. That was apparently way better than the movie itself. They're very talented developers. This game just looks like ass to me.
Yeah, I didn't even. I apparently this is the funniest thing about this is that there were, I don't know, around 15,000 or something people watching this stream, and then a third or more of them dropped out as soon as this announcent was made. It
was 100. It was 150,000 people.
Sorry, there you go. I've got a zero missing there. A lot of people were watching it, and a bunch just dropped out. So there you go.
I mean, what are you going to do? The kids just aren't that hot on Bakugan these days. I mean, what are you going to do?
But the Shantae games, some of them are getting some releases in physical form from Limited Run. Limited Run had one of these sort of digital events. They make physical copies of games that might not otherwise have physical copies, and they announced a ton of games, 30 something like that, a bunch of which are coming to Switch, including some Shantae games, and one of our games we talk about a lot, Kunai, is getting a physical copy through Limited Run.
I might pick that up, actually.
I was going to say, I think I'm going to pick up one to give away on our podcast.
That's a great game.
As a bunch of other games like Grease and all kinds of stuff too. So that's cool. If you like physical games, check that out.
YouTuber Modern Vintage Gamer is actually, I think, doing that Shantae Game Boy port for the Switch.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of homebrew ports. I think he did the homebrew port of Doom for the Switch. And so they actually tapped him in order to do the port. So that's pretty cool. I'm a big fan of his content. I watch him all the time. So I'm looking forward to playing that Shantae port.
Yeah, and I didn't really explain that, but one of the Shantae games is getting a Game Boy Color release or whatever, right? Like because Limited Run does this. They release games for like the Vita and for sometimes for things like the Wii or whatever, like random old systems occasionally. Mostly it's Switch or PS4, but like they will do that, and they're doing one of those for the Game Boy. Mm-hmm. And then we had a couple of events like these E3 likes. Devolver did their part of this Summer Game Fest, this nebulous thing. Devolver did their Devolver Direct on July 11th. That thing was crazy. Y'all did y'all all watch that?
Yeah, I watched.
Oh my god, I had a great time.
Talk about lore. That was like the culmination of like 4 years of world building within the Devolver Digital verse, like culminating in this bizarre, this bizarre video that only had like 6 announcements, but other than that was all just like world building and storytelling of like these characters, and a lot of fucking truth bombs being dropped on like us as consumers,
on us. It was so weird, but so great. It was like, I think I was watching it, and David, you were like about to watch it, and we were talking about it, and I was like, there's been a lot of sketch, and not much announcements, but it's kind of great. It's like, I'm really but it's maybe still great. Because they made fun of us for all the things that we're doing right now. And we're still going to buy their games.
Shout out to JM Specht from Devolver, who we had on the show the other day. Whenever we were talking about, I think that like they should have demos available like for people during this time that can't make it out to E3 or whatever. And he was like, I don't think that anybody would do that. And then at the end of the show, they have a game for Steam that is a virtual like E3 show floor where you could play all these demos. And guess who is doing the voiceover for that thing? JM fucking Specht. So he kept a straight face during our entire podcast, even though we were like basically saying their plans.
Good call. He did a great job of hiding that on our podcast. Have any of y'all checked that out on Steam? We should talk about that. It's like Devolverland Digital or whatever. It's like a game and they have some hidden announcements in that too, I think too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I played through it.
Tell us about it, Matt.
It's great marketing.
Yeah.
Because you start it and it's modeled very similar to the Staples Center where E3 normally is in LA. And you start and you go to a Devolver booth and you get a t-shirt gun and you use the t-shirt gun to shoot security droids who are trying to catch you while you're breaking into the show floor. And all of the booths are just Devolver published games. Mm-hmm. And, they have, for smaller titles, they have a really small booth, but for bigger titles like Shadow Warrior 3, here we are. We're going to market for them right now. For Shadow Warrior 3, they have this big booth and it's all interactive and they have the character models from the game in these booths. So it feels like this immersive game about a game, and you're shooting a t-shirt cannon.
Sounds great. Yeah.
It's pretty great.
It's very fucking meta. So
Switch related for this, and I do not know how you say the name of this game, Olija, Olija, is a cool looking Switch game that's from like a Japanese indie developer, it seems like. I don't know a whole lot about them but the game looks really cool. They showed that off. And then they did this really funny, super long credits sequence where they had a bunch of people giving the thumbs up. And included in there was a shot of No More Heroes 3 behind Suda as he gave a thumbs up. Not in the direct at all otherwise. They also did a really nice sort of my uncle works for Nintendo joke in the direct too. Those were sort of the Nintendo moments.
I've been thinking about this Devolver Direct so much and why I'm a sucker for this bullshit. It's and it's because Devolver, all of them, they love video games, but they know exactly who their audience are. And so
Yeah.
they're going to build this world about whatever they want to do and have a good time while also like loving video games. And like, here in Austin, we have a similar sentiment is like Party World Wrestling, which is like a wrestling show with really dumb, deep lore, but all of them really love wrestling and all of the sport of it. And there's something really, really charming about, we know what we're doing. We love the thing that we're doing. Like Devolver loves video games, and we're going to have a good time at the same time without going into like marketing speak. I think
and making fun of it too. I think they did a really good job of making fun of this hype machine that we are a part of here on this podcast, and like really yelling at us.
It keeps them relevant too, It's like, even if they don't have like a ton to show this year, it's like, at least like, it keeps the brand afloat, and they do a really good job of that. And yeah, like you said, it's the self-awareness, I think, that really gives it like its value. Yeah.
And then moving on, then Ubisoft had their event. The Ubisoft Forward event was on July 12th. This one was a little bit of a snooze fest for me. I mean, the games look great, but it was nothing. I don't think there was much new shown off, but they showed off Watch Dogs. They showed off other games. Matt, you and I watched this one together. It all felt a little samey, but I'm sorry if anybody's excited about any of these games. They do look nice. Any thoughts from y'all?
Generally, the games look smooth and fluid, but nothing, I don't know, nothing really speaks to me.
I thought the cinematic that they showed for Watch Dogs Legion looked really cool. But that it was like a short film, I guess. I think it was one of the directors of Into the Spider-Verse, which is why it had that great kind of kinetic style to it that worked really, really well. But then they showed the game, and it was like, a lot of that energy is kind of sucked out of it when you're actually in the gameplay. So I thought that was cool, and if they can carry some of that over to the actual game, I think that would be great. And then I thought the trailer for Far Cry 6 was fantastic. I thought that, it was a cinematic trailer. I've also been rewatching Breaking Bad, so like seeing Giancarlo Esposito in the trailer, it was very like of the time. I'm in that Gus arc of Breaking Bad right now, so it was really cool to see him in this game. But I just thought ultimately the trailer, like the story they were telling with that trailer, was like really powerful. And I think like I love the idea of him as a villain, raising his son in order to be this like fierce killer. I think it's just going to make for a very interesting villain. And I think that's what the Far Cry series has done really, really well throughout the entirety of that series. I just don't know that I'm that excited for the game because I haven't been that into the Far Cry formula for a while. You know what I mean? But I think it drew me in, and this might be the first one that I give a shot to in a while because I think the characters seem very interesting.
And moving back around to Nintendo, we got several things here, but to close us out, July 11th was the 5-year anniversary of Iwata's passing, Satoru Iwata. So a lot of people talked about that then, and it's just felt like we should mention it. Yeah,
Reggie put out a tweet, I think, saying that he very much missed his friend and his boss. And I think any opportunity to take a second to remember Satoru Iwata, the former president of Nintendo, is a good opportunity to take. He was an excellent guy. Someone, you were talking about how Devolver, the people who work for Devolver clearly love video games. Like Iwata was one of those guys too. You know what I mean? Like he was a gamer at heart, and he always had what was best for the consumer in mind when he was working. And I think there's just so much that a lot of CEOs and presidents can learn from a guy like that.
And we've got some sort of vintage gaming related news here. Did you know gaming is a YouTube channel where they go in depth about things? And then they did an episode on Pokemon and sort of the localization issues that happened in the various places with the original Pokemon games. And one of the things that's I haven't watched the whole video, but one of the things that's been shared around a lot is a funny anecdote that in America, they wanted to change the design of Pikachu, the iconic Pokemon character. And not only that, but make it into quote unquote something like a tiger with huge breasts. Is what the CEO of the Pokemon company says.
Pika, Pika.
And so, like, I think there was a lot of resistance to Pokemon, apparently, from Nintendo of America, thinking that American kids wouldn't want to play a game with all that text and that they wanted to redesign the things. It's kind of funny hearing this after reading, we've talked about, David, you and I both read Console Wars not too long ago. Mm-hmm. And there's some interesting anecdotes about changes that were made as a result of Sega of America or Nintendo of America. And usually they seemed like decent changes, but this one just seems bizarre.
I, for one, think not giving Pikachu enormous knockers is a huge wasted opportunity. I think I agree. I think that Pokemon is a failed concept, and what it really needs is sex appeal in order to finally be successful.
I would like to know, with thinking of, if Pikachu had giant breasts, then Mimikyu, who mimics Pikachu, would Mimikyu also have another layer of giant breasts? Just think about it.
Yeah. Ditto would have just been an enormous breast implant.
And moving on.
Hey, man, you're the one who put this in the show notes.
That's right.
Yeah, this is your fault. This is America. This is who we are.
A sealed copy of the Super Mario Bros. Game for the NES sold for over $100,000 at auction. And if you're out there and you have a sealed copy of this game, you probably won't be able to sell it for this much. It's like, apparently, because there were so many different versions of this game that came out. This is a specific version, and it's a mint copy or whatever, graded highly. But I think this broke the record for like the highest video game ever sold, which is ridiculous. Why is anybody paying that money for for this game, y'all?
Yeah, I would like to direct your attention to the Polygon comments, which is one of the first ones is, "What a goober! You can download the ROM for free."
I, for one, hope that Elon Musk enjoys his new copy of Mario.
Yeah.
There was also like a copy of Super Mario Brothers 3 for the NES that's like up for auction for a lot too, because it's like a rare like version where Bros is in a different place on the box. Like it's just nuts collectors stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I'm currently bidding for that one. So
are you?
No, of course not. No.
You got 100,000 to drop.
Nah, dude, I'm playing it on Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online.
The designer like of the NES and the Famicom, the like physical hardware, is not somebody that I have here talked about a lot. But Kotaku had an interview with them. So I think we should point out that like I think a lot of these things are happening right now because it's like the 35th anniversary of the NES and of Mario Bros. And that kind of stuff. So like I'm sure I'll say his name wrong. I'm sorry. Masayuki Uemura was the person who did the hardware for the NES and the Famicom. And they have a really interesting article where he kind of talks about why they picked the color scheme they did and redesigning it for the United States and kind of what was happening in Japan at the time, because they didn't really have the same sort of video game crash that happened in the US. So check that out if that intrigues you. And just today, the day we're recording this, Lego announced that they're putting out a Lego NES console set. There's like a nice little TV, like old school looking TV, and an NES. You can actually put the Lego built cartridge in the NES, and you can turn a crank and make Mario move on the TV. Pretty cool looking Lego set. It's funny to see this little crossover here, because I follow Lego too, of people being like, $230, that's nuts. And I'm like, man, Lego's nuts. If you want those big crazy sets they make, they're in the hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy this because it's $230. But I am way more excited for this than I am
Yeah.
for that like Super Mario Lego kind of course or whatever. I think this is what people like actually wanted when they heard that Nintendo was doing a Lego crossover, and I hope they do more stuff like this.
Yes. But you can take the Mario from that game, or from the other Lego sets, and put it on the TV and make it play the music, apparently. So that ties in a little bit. But it's pretty expensive, so I don't know that I'll be getting it either. I don't buy the really expensive Lego sets.
I thought you were an AFOL, man.
AFOL, yeah. I do have the Tower of Orthanc, which costs like $300 from Lord of the Rings. But that's where I stopped. I was like, you know what? I got to slow down here. Then we're getting into sort of these direct rumors, y'all. GameStop, GameStop employees have leaked some alleged images out of the GameStop system that show a bunch of new SKUs or SKUs added to their system, as well as some maintenance that Nintendo is doing on the retail, like displays, presumably that they have in the stores. Which would be happening today. So I'm not sure that it really means anything if it's true, but this might.
I've heard from multiple people that have confirmed this from employees that they know.
Yeah.
Right. So like Spawnwave
seems
in particular. True, yeah. Like he reached out to some of the people that he knows at GameStop and has confirmed that these are indeed new SKUs that have popped up for the Switch.
Now, whether that's because they're doing it because of all the rumors, or, you know what I mean? I feel like it's a vicious feedback loop there.
Yeah, it could be a catch-22 for sure. But I think for the most part, generally, when these new SKUs pop up, it means that some big announcements are incoming. And I wouldn't doubt it this time.
And then lastly, we'll mention Jeff Grubb, who is been getting lots of leaks. He works for VentureBeat. We've been talking about him a lot. He tweeted out that he has still not heard anything about this specific July 20th Nintendo Direct date, but believes that Nintendo is going to be talking very soon, which just seems like a given for reasons that we will get into after we take a short break. So this week we are talking all about July Direct, or what Nintendo is going to announce and when. So we've talked about this a lot on the show in the last few weeks, but there's been a lot of rumors going around that there's going to be a Nintendo Direct soon. And in particular, an individual who goes by the name Kelios has been saying July 20th. There's been lots of evidence sort of in favor or against this, and we might talk a little bit about that. But we're going to do a period of this talk where we kind of just assume it's happening and what it would look like, and then maybe talk about what it might look like if it doesn't happen. How are we feeling about it right now? You guys think you still on the July Direct is happening train?
I don't know. I mean, I want there to be a Direct on the 20th. I think everybody wants there to be a Direct on the 20th. I'm concerned that we as fans have willed this into existence and it's not going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this has happened before. Like earlier this year, like we were very guilty of this. I was listening back on our 2020 predictions episode. Like we were so sure there was going to be a January or a February Direct, and there wasn't, right? Like there was a Direct mini in March, like late March. Or it might have even been April. I don't remember exactly, but I'm concerned that it's not going to be real. But I do think even if there isn't a Direct this month, we will get some kind of like mass news drop. At least that's how things are seeming like they would shake out. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think, we might not get what we want, which is a video Direct, but I can definitely agree with you. We're going to get news in some form, even though it might not take the form that we want, which is a fucking Direct.
Yeah.
I do think, I talked about this in the last episode. If you're Nintendo and you're Nintendo in, January, February, E3's coming up. You have something planned and you're working towards something. That could be a video production, but you're thinking about what E3 could be. And I think we're going to see whatever that E3 presentation could have been. If that's, Twitter posts, if that's online posts, or if that's a mini Direct or a Smash Direct, or, other game focused directs. I think we're going to see something that probably comes from that initial planning.
Can we all agree that the Paper Mario Origami King announcement was supposed to be an E3 presentation?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely seemed just kind of out of the blue, right? Like that's probably something that they would have dropped at an E3 Direct.
It's tough. Yeah. It's weird because I feel like there's a lot of reasons for them to do one, and then I can also see a lot of reasons for them not to do a Direct in the next couple weeks. But I do think that they need to announce something. We're in a very strange time as Nintendo fans, in that after this weekend, when Paper Mario The Origami King comes out, we have no date for any Nintendo game other than a DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield, right? Like there's no hard
Pokemon Snap.
We don't have a date.
We don't have a release window or year for that game.
We have coming soon. That's what
we know of, and we can talk about this, and we should. We know of a couple of games that have release windows of this year, but we don't even have anything narrower than that. And so I do think that after the Origami King releases, or maybe even before, we will hear something. Yeah. So there's been some evidence in favor and some evidence against, but let's go ahead and just assume there's going to be a July Direct. Do y'all think this 20th date is believable, or do you think it would? That's weird to have it on a Monday, but it's not unprecedented, and there's no reason not to, I guess. But
yeah, I think that the one thing that I've found in having been a Nintendo fan for most of my life, and then having done this podcast for the past couple of years, is that everybody tries to always find patterns in what Nintendo does. And I think the reality of the situation is that there is no pattern. And I think that they just kind of do what they do when it's best for them. And sometimes that falls into patterns because sometimes that's the most convenient way to do things. But I don't think because stuff has usually happened on Wednesdays or Thursdays that means that a Monday is off the table, right?
Can you see somebody at Nintendo being like, wait, we've never done one on a Monday before. We can't, Like, I just
that
will upset the pattern.
It's like it's like the Switch Head's lament is like trying to figure out, like, is to predict what Nintendo's going to do. Like, I feel like Nintendo is one of the most historically unpredictable companies, right? So we'll see. I mean, we're trying to do the impossible here by kind of like come up with some predictions for this Direct that may or may not even be a thing. But I don't think that Monday would feel that weird. I think it'd be great to have it on a Monday. Okay.
Well, let's say it happens on that Monday or some other time in July. What do you guys think is going to be in this Direct? We can go over, if it would be helpful, the announced games and the kind of currently rumored games first, or we can make our predictions first, whatever y'all want to do.
Let's go through what we know so far.
Okay. So for this year, that have been given this year's announcements, we have Bravely Default 2, which is a Square Enix exclusive game for the Switch that Nintendo is publishing here in America. We have No More Heroes 3, also given a 2020 release window, and that's it. Those are the only games that were given this release window. There are other games. We talked about, there's new Pokemon Snap. There's the Breath of the Wild sequel. There's Bayonetta 3. Detective Pikachu has been talked about, I think, officially. Or is that just a rumor? That one's sort of in the weird place.
No, it's been talked about. I only shake my head because, like, I feel like it was talked about multiple years ago and then just has been totally mum ever since.
Then there's also sort of Shin Megami Tensei 5 and, of course, Metroid Prime 4, which I don't expect to hear anything about personally. But those are the games that we know are coming to the Switch at some point that are either exclusives or Nintendo published. And so it's possible if there's a Direct, some of those could be shown, but what do y'all think? Any of those games in particular? I think obviously Bravely Default 2 and No More Heroes 3 would get dates if we get a Direct. I think, we're at the end of the year.
I feel like both of those have got to be in a Direct, right? Like that. I mean, like just Suda, like himself showing little tiny morsels of No More Heroes 3 footage feels like it's leading up to something, right? And so like that would be an obviously great place for him to actually show footage without him standing in front of it. I think Bravely Default 2, yeah, we'll get a date for that. I think they put out that demo a while ago and they've been getting player feedback. This is the same thing that they did with Octopath Traveler, where they put out a demo and then took a couple months in order to take some of that feedback and fine tune the game. I think that game is coming out within a couple months. Honestly. Sure. I think that probably is close to release.
So what about any of those other ones? Do you think any of those other ones are coming this year?
I mean, as far as what we'll see in the Direct, I kind of don't think that we'll get a date for Pokemon Snap. Personally, I feel like Pokemon kind of does their own announcements. They do their own directs, so to speak. I think we'll get more info for that with another kind of Pokemon announcement. Personally, I could be wrong.
That's a good call.
I think the same with Detective Pikachu. I think that's something that the Pokemon company would want to announce on their own. I agree with you. I don't think we'll be seeing any Metroid Prime. The question, I think, is whether or not we'll see anything about Breath of the Wild 2 here or not. Matt, do you have any kind of insight on this? Do you think that they would show Breath of the Wild 2 now, or do you think they would wait until later in the year to show off that game?
Man, yeah, I don't know. It all depends on what the other games that might be shown. It's weird because, as you know, we were saying, we're trying to find a pattern in Nintendo's decisions when usually they just make decisions as whatever they do without patterns.
Fire from the hip.
Yeah. I think we're going to get something and not necessarily a release date.
Yeah. I'm on board with that.
So something like
or maybe a giant window like 2021 or something.
Yeah. 2021, maybe some merch or like a online, Zelda Symphony of the Goddess version to usher in Breath of the Wild 2. Something that'll kind of keep us excited while we wait longer.
I mean, just to get a feel for the room, do you guys think that Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out this holiday, or do you think that's next year?
I think it's probably next year, though I think there is a very small chance that it's this year. And I know that a lot of people have moved on from believing that, but I still have a little bit of hope / belief that it's possible that that's the big thing that they're holding on to.
Let's say, for the sake of argument, that it's not this year and that the game needs more polish, which is probably what's happening right now. I think everybody's working really hard on Breath of the Wild 2, and they're working from home, which is going to take longer. But so say it is next year. Nintendo has previously said that they want to do a Zelda release of some kind every single year. If Breath of the Wild is indeed coming out in 2021, what do you think that they would release this year as far as Zelda is concerned? Do you think they might port one of those old Wii U ports, or what? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I personally feel like it's Breath of the Wild 2 or whatever we want to call it, or nothing. That's what I think. I think that it might be closer to, this is just hoping because I want it, you know what I mean? But I think it might be closer to being done than most people think because of various reasons. I just feel like they're going to show that off if they do a direct, whether it's in July or later this year in some capacity. And we're going to get a 2021, and maybe it'll be like March or something. Right. I feel like that game is coming, but I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. And I don't see how they have some other Zelda thing to show us, but maybe you're right. Maybe it's some port of like Wind Waker or something, or some collection or something.
I'm trying to think about like last year. So last year when we were talking about this, like what did we get from the second half of 2019? We got Astral Chain. We have, what was that mech game?
Neck game?
Damon
mech game. I thought you said neck
Damon
Deus
Ex Machina.
Nekina.
Damon Ex Machina.
I know.
Whatever. I'm out of it.
We got those two games.
We got Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
We got Link's Awakening. We got Luigi's Mansion in October. What other games did we get in the holiday season?
Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yeah, Pokemon Sword and Shield.
That was in November.
Yeah, which is a huge game. Yeah, a huge release. If we're following like that trend from last year, like what is the big game that that's going to bring us into the holiday season?
Well, I mean, I mean, I feel like that's kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but that's got to be the Mario remaster pack, right? Like the thing that we've heard so much about. Also, how fucked up would that be if that wasn't a real thing?
Yeah. Well, let's finish up of those games that we talked about that don't have 2024. I personally feel like we might see Bayonetta 3, we might see Breath of the Wild sequel, and that's about it out of this. If there is a direct in July or early August or something, I don't think we're going to see the other games for the reasons you stated of like a Pokemon Direct would show some of those, or maybe Atlas would want to release their own sort of thing for Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Metroid Prime 4 is so far off. If y'all
I honestly am not holding out breath for Bayonetta 3. Yeah. I like, we've heard nothing. We've heard literally nothing. Like, I mean, maybe there was like one thing where they're like, it's still happening.
Yeah, they've been saying it's still happening, and that's about it.
Yeah. So I'm not holding my breath for Bayonetta 3. And honestly, personally, I feel like Breath of the Wild 2, especially with COVID-19, is not going to be ready for this year. And I think that like so much so that they would probably want to hold that for like September, October, or something like that. Gotcha. If they're doing an announcement around then, personally. So I think that, I think Bravely Default 2 and No More Heroes 3 out of this list might be the only things we actually see here.
Okay. Well, then maybe we can get into the things we don't know about, right? Like, or the things that are rumored at least, or anything we don't know about. But I think that brings up one thing before we do that, which is that allegedly, we've been told at the investors meeting that they haven't had any significant delays for announced games and games they've been working on. So whether that's true or whether that means what we think it means, we don't know. But I do think I think they're just holding things close because they don't want to say anything right now. Maybe
it's so uncertain. Yeah. Everything is so uncertain right now that it's like they don't want to make promises that they can't keep. I think that they've been burned by that recently, even with Metroid Prime 4, right? Like they were like really cocksure about Metroid Prime 4 coming out, and then they actually played whatever Bandai Namco was working on. They were like, this sucks. Let's give it back to Retro, right? So I think like, I don't think Nintendo's in the business of announcing games that are like 2 or 3 years out anymore, right? So I think we'll be getting stuff that we don't know about or that isn't officially announced, right?
And then, so just a real quick list of the games that have been heavily rumored, or, this doesn't mean these games exist at all, but there's been rumors of a 2D Metroid, of the Metroid Prime trilogy, of a new Mario Kart game, Mario Kart 9, of a Super Mario 3D World port, a Pikmin 3 port with Deluxe for probably both those ports, and then a remastered Mario 3D Mario pack with Sunshine, Mario 64, and Galaxy in it. So, which has been allegedly the big game, right? That Mario remaster, which I think I agree with you, David. It would be pretty funny if that is not true, because it's been.
That would not be funny, Patrick. I would be absolutely crushed. I would lose faith in humanity and my life in general.
We've talked about Jeff Grubb. If we're to believe Jeff Grubb, that is their sort of big holiday release, is this Mario remaster thing. Are y'all, David, you believe it then, or you're pretty?
I've, wagered my entire life on this thing. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, I definitely believe, everybody was talking about it, right? It seemed like the worst kept secret, right? But like you were saying, the humorous kind of ironic thing about it is we've heard literally nothing about it from Nintendo. But it seems like that was probably what their big E3 booth or whatever would have been this year, right? It's like a celebration of the 35th anniversary of Mario with a release of these 3D games. I think that would be excellent. And it's like,
I don't want to cut you off, but I do think that we're seeing that stuff, right? We're seeing this Lego set. We're seeing, we're seeing some things that indicate that might have been the case. Like, I think maybe this Lego NES thing would have been part of that, or happened around the same time.
Sure. Yeah.
I just want
and like, all the like jean jackets that have been coming out with Mario on them or whatever.
You're talking about the Levi Cross Nintendo.
Sure. Yeah.
The official Super Switch Heads outfit suit up.
Those disgustingly ugly jean jackets. Out of these, I think there's a pretty good chance of a lot of these being in this direct. I do think that we will see that that Mario remaster pack in this announcement. You know, I'm bracing for it not to be there, but I really in my heart feel like it's going to be there. We've also been hearing, lots of rumblings about Pikmin 3. You know, that's not even to talk about Pikmin 4, which Shigeru Miyamoto said was almost finished like 3 years ago.
I'm so confused about that. I've done some deep dives into trying to figure that stuff out, and I just come out feeling like I don't know what it means, especially with the heavy Pikmin 3 rumors, you know. I would say for me, I really hope there isn't a Mario Kart 9 that comes out on the Switch. And I know, David, you're probably like baffled by that, but I feel like everybody plays Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And when we want to play Mario Kart, here's the thing, I don't want there to be a Mario Kart 9, but if there is, it might be awesome, right? Like of all these games, I'm really hopeful that there is a new 2D Metroid. And that that there is some of these ports, because I never got to play those games, but that's where I'm at.
I mean, Mario Kart 8 is a 2013 game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like that's an old game at this point, and it's like still got tons of life on it. Like anytime I want to play online, there's always tons and tons of people playing. I always have a great time. But I've been playing those tracks in Mario Kart 8 for like 7 years now,
true.
And it's like, you know, I would love a ultimate, like a Mario Kart Ultimate, where it pulls everything in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think regardless, anything that they show Mario Kart related, I'm going to be super hyped for because I'm a big fan of that franchise. Yeah. But again, you know, we'll see. I think the main thing we're basing that on is like lots of rumors about Nintendo having a game with wheels or something like that. Like we heard a rumor about that a while ago. Yeah. Sabi, that recently disgraced leaker Sabi. So I'd love to see something new like that, but I don't know. I think for sure though, we'll be seeing the 3D World port there.
What about you, Matt? Any of these rumored games appeal to you, or you expect to see announced?
I could see any of the Mario games, and this might lead us into the speculation of some of the format of the show if we get the direct on the 20th.
Yeah.
If we're going to get a Mario port, whether it be any of these 3D ports, Mario 64, Sunshine, or Galaxy, I think likely we're going to open with one of those.
I would agree. I think it's the opener. I think the closer is Breath of the Wild.
I think 3D World is the opener and the remaster pack is the closer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's going to be Super Mario focused, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Do we all agree that there won't be a lot of third party representation in this direct?
Yeah, I think if there's a direct right now, based on, again, assuming what we've heard is true, where, you know, Jeff Grubb said, and other people were saying that partners were told not to wait for a direct. I think this might be a mini too. I think that's why the other reason we might not, you know, like this might be a shorter direct. Maybe it's a full direct, maybe it's a mini, but either way, I think the third party announcements don't exist, or they're things we mostly knew about already. You know what I mean? Or like aren't surprises or things like that.
Right.
Like Bakugan.
Maybe they announce an Outer Worlds patch that makes that game playable.
Yeah. I don't think we'll see any too many third-party IPs represented, but we might see, you know, the wild cards like Mario Rabbids 2, something that a third party is
exclusives.
Trying to right. Yeah. Making using a Nintendo IP.
That'd be cool.
Right.
Well, what about like DLC? Do you think? I think that if they do this in July, that maybe we'll get the Animal Crossing August update information. Like I think
for sure
they said they would tell us more about the Animal Crossing August update later. So I think maybe we'll see that, and maybe some other fall update for Animal Crossing information. But then the big question will be Smash.
I would bet like a pretty good amount of money that we'll be seing Animal Crossing DLC news in this direct.
Yeah. What about Smash? I think we're due for a fighter announcement. Like, I'm not. When I say due, I don't like feel like I'm owed it, but like
Sakurai,
I deserve
you
a fucking Smash announcement.
Come on, Sakurai. I think I'm going to wage my bets. I'm going to put 50% of my hard-earned dollars onto opening up with Mario port whatever that
Okay.
might be. And then the other 50 on Black, a virtual Black, and saying it's going to be a Smash announcement. That's how we're going to open.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening as well. Like a Smash, the next Smash character. And Papagino's friend of the show actually talked about in one of his videos recently that, we had a window for which these DLCs will be releasing, right? It's through the end of 2021 that we'll be getting characters for Smash. And if that is to be believed, which there's no reason to believe otherwise, I think, then we're over a quarter of the way through and we've only heard about one of the 6 fighters, right? So it definitely would make sense time-wise that we would hear at least what the next fighter is going to be, or some kind of hint at least as to like what, maybe from now on they're just gonna be saying, hey, it's going to be from this game franchise or whatever. And like, I think we'll be getting something like that from this, or at least it would be high time to. That's not to say that we won't see it. I think that, that again, it's like the pandemic has thrown a wrench in everything, right? Everything is kind of as unpredictable as Nintendo already was. I think they're even more so now because everybody's working from home and everybody's having issues like getting shit completed,
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I wonder if Nintendo is affected by COVID more than they're leading on with game development or Switch manufacturing since they moved it to Vietnam in 2019.
Right.
I wonder if all of those negotiations kind of affects some of the development and release or physical release of the 2020 Nintendo games.
Well, yeah, and the way that Furukawa talked about it when he was like, "Yeah, our current slate is unaffected." Like, what does that only apply to? Paper Mario? Like it's the only one that you said we actually have a date for. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't delay a game that we don't know when it's coming out. You know what I mean? So I think behind the scenes they're probably scrambling.
I think that's why they're so quiet too, right? I think they, we know that they like to announce things when they're ready, and they like to announce things close to the date. And that's an argument for why we might not get this direct, right? Like why it might be more like a series of announcements. But here's what I have trouble believing. I have trouble believing that there is no Nintendo game that we haven't heard about between September and December. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And I think we have to get an announcement for that pretty soon, or else it's going to be leaked by, the physical copies getting manufactured and all that.
I agree with you. I just think that the way that that's going to manifest in my mind is that this direct is going to be mostly ports. You know what I mean? I think that we'll get 1 or 2 new games, and I think that we will get a surprise drop of something we haven't heard about before. Like, say, if we're talking direct minis, like Mario Tennis Aces, right? Like that was not leaked before it was showed off in a direct. I think we'll get like a game like that where it's like, oh shit, nobody knew about this. That's a
Mario
great surprise.
Golf or something. Yeah.
Sure. Maybe it's just Camelot and for some reason they're fucking airtight. But it's like, I think that I would hedge my bets on Pikmin 3 port, these Mario ports. I think a Zelda port, honestly, because I don't think Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out this year. So I think some announcement of that. I think it's going to be, I think it's best to temper your expectations here because a port takes a lot less manpower and a lot less collaborative power to build because you have the basis and the founding building blocks already there. I think that kind of stuff is easier to work on from home. And I think that's the stuff that they can guarantee is going to come out this year. You know what I mean? So I would really be mainly banking on that.
You put me down for the Mario and the Metroid because I think that Paper Mario Metroid helmet thing that they really pushed to me feels like there's something Metroid. I hope.
Okay, so what are we talking Metroid here? Are you talking the 2D or are you talking about the trilogy?
I hope it's 2D, but that's just selfish because I want a new game and I like 2D. I like 2D Metroidvania type games. But
when did Samus Returns come out?
I do not know.
It's like
2016,
2016.
Yeah, for the 3DS. No, it was 2017 because the Switch was already out. It was one of the last 3DS games. So it's like Mercury Steam, if we do believe that they are working on this new 2D Metroid game, which I don't know why they wouldn't. That game did really well and was critically acclaimed. I don't know why they wouldn't be working on that. Do you think that is between 2017 and 2020? You think that's enough time to finish a brand new Metroid game?
I feel like that's tight, but you never know. I mean, it would be like almost exactly 3 years. So,
right. Now, also in terms of 2D Metroid, do you think that would be because I think we've heard both.
Right.
We've heard both that it's a new game or that it's a Super Metroid remake. Which one would you guys lean towards?
Again, this is my preferences showing, but I hope it's new. I don't know. I have any reason to believe that it is. And I think you made a great argument for mostly this being ports, and it's probably, if there is a Metroid game, it's the Prime Trilogy or something,
Right. Yeah. Which I would be totally okay with.
I think it would be crazy that if we got a Super Metroid remake, not a remaster, but a remake, where it takes the base game and it expands upon that gameplay using like the similar, side scroller. It'd
be funny to see that. I feel like that's a game that it's kind of like that game looks okay,
that was the point I was going to make, Patrick, is that I think that the Game Boy Metroid 2 Return of Samus needed a remake, because that is a great game that is kind of stuck on the Game Boy in black and white, with very limited controls. But it's like an essential part of the Metroid canon and the storyline. And so I think that is a great reason to remake a game, is like remaking a Game Boy game and bringing it up to modern standards. I don't think Super Metroid needs to be remade, A, and B, it's already on the Switch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you want to play Super Metroid, it's there. If you have Nintendo Switch Online, it's free. And so it's like, and it's aged like a fine fucking wine, dude. Like, that game plays so well. It's still known as one of the best games, if not the best game of all time ever made. It's number one on a lot of people's lists of best games of all time. So I think that you would only disappoint by doing a Super Metroid remake. And I think that their time would be much better served adding a new actual sequel to Metroid, because the last actual sequel, or like the latest game in the Metroid timeline, is Metroid Fusion. And it's been so long since we've seen a new one, since all the Prime games take place beforehand. I would love to see a sequel and a continuation of that storyline.
Well, I feel like we should wrap this up pretty soon, but are there any other unannounced games, or maybe just wild hopes? You want to swing
Star Fox Grand Prix. Let's go,
for
baby.
The fences here. Anything that if we get a Nintendo Direct in the next several weeks, you might really want to see? Star Fox, that's what you want to see?
I mean, I'm always here for Star Fox, but doesn't seem likely, honestly.
Surprise Grand Theft Auto 5 coming to Nintendo Switch, running at 16 frames per second.
Deadly Premonition 3. Any guys play that, by the way?
I know.
Not yet.
But I hear it runs poorly.
I've heard it's not worth it. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to play it. I hope we get some wild card Mario game, like a Mario Sports, strikers, golf, the 3-on-3 hoops, whatever we got for the 3DS. Something that would be like a really fun game, just to play, just in the meantime, that has some online play.
Online.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I'd love another Nintendo Switch Online freebie drop. I was listening to Roger Space's Nintendo predictions video he put out I think a few days ago at this point. And he had talked about, kind of in regards to the whole Nintendo trying to release something for Zelda every single year, potentially like Four Swords being released as a sort of Nintendo Switch Online freebie. And I think that's an excellent idea. I think that would not be hard to port. And I think that would be a great thing to include with Nintendo Switch Online, because you could play it online and you could play with your friends. I think that would be a really great way to go about that. And then just kind of expounding on that, I'd love to see something about the next system that they're bringing to Nintendo Switch Online. Whether that's Game Boy Advance, or N64, or whatever it is. I'd like some news on that, especially if they're planning on releasing that in September. I think it would be good to know about a little bit beforehand rather than dropping that in, say, a September Direct.
That's a good call.
Yeah. I think that's a good call because we've mostly been talking about games, but also you're describing like a service,
Right.
which is like Nintendo Switch Online, and the games that are part of that service and an upgrade of that service.
Yeah. And if we're going with the kind of conceit that, porting games is easier when you're working from home than making all brand new games, then if we're going to be seeing a lot of ports, I think that would be a great way in order to bring some of that stuff back too. And it would be something that would make people really excited. I mean, for some reason, Nintendo fans don't give a shit about ports. Like they're happy to have them, I think, for the most part. So yeah, I would expect to see something like that.
Well, we should wrap this up pretty soon. Any final thoughts from y'all, especially like if this July Direct doesn't happen, when do you think we will hear things? Or do you think, we'll have a Direct later? Or do you think that this year is just one Direct mini and we're going to get Twitter announcements? I'm kind of leaning towards there being a Direct sooner than later. That I feel like they'll want to do that, but I could also see it going the other way. What do y'all think?
I hope it's soon.
Yeah, I do too, man.
I'm praying and I'm thoughting my way to bring this Direct online.
Yeah.
And if it's not this month, then August.
I've got my little candle circle with my pentagram in the middle with a picture of Sakurai and Iwata and trying to will that into existence. I think we'll fucking see, right? I mean, we'll fucking see. It's like, it's so hard to say right now. I think that, this is something we didn't really bring up is that, in that investor call, Furukawa said that like the directs are a great way to get information across, but we're not closed off to the idea of going with a different delivery method for information in the future.
What does that mean?
I mean, who knows? I think, they used to do announcements through their systems. So maybe it'll be something through their own systems that they do. Just kind of alluding to these Twitter drops. I'm not 100% convinced that we haven't seen our last Direct already. You know what I mean? Like that might not be the way that they do this going forward. I do think that it would be foolish of them to not reuse some of the stuff that they had planned for E3, which is why I think there will be a Direct. But we'll just have to see what Jeff Grubb hears in the next couple of days.
Yeah. Just be honest with me with this next question because it's very serious.
Okay.
How reasonable is it for us to speculate that there might be a Nintendo Direct inside of Fortnite?
That's never going to happen ever.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Personally, I don't think that would ever happen. I think that, how weird would it be to like watch a Nintendo Direct like on your Xbox in Fortnite?
Hey, he said unconventional, different ways.
I think that we'll see a Nintendo Direct built into Ninjala.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think we're going to see in Microsoft Flight Simulator, we're going to see a Nintendo Direct
You just have to
on the Earth.
You have to fly your plane over their Kyoto headquarters and then like zoom into one of the windows to see what they're working on. That's how you get announcements in the future.
Very nice. Very nice. Oh, I think we're done.
Yeah. I think we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun to speculate.
We'll come back and we will talk all about the video games that we have been playing recently. So we are going to talk about the games we've been playing. I'm starting off because I'll try to be brief here, y'all. But I have a few games I want to talk about. Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. I love this game. I play online. That's my way to do this. I took off my preferred rules and I started playing online with whatever comes my way. And I'm playing all sorts of crazy items and stuff, which I have not done in this game because, this is my first Smash game and I've really fallen in love with it. And I've found that I'm terrible with items whenever that happens.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting better at it. And I'm also getting used to all these bizarre rules. It's been actually really fun for me, which, I still prefer a 1v1, no items and that kind of stuff. But I'm enjoying that. I've been playing just tons of Mario Maker with my kid. Like, I haven't talked about this on the podcast, but since quarantine has been happening, I have to juggle working with my wife and with watching our son. And I bring him in when I have to work, when it's my turn to watch him, and something comes up at work and I have to deal with it. And he plays Mario Maker. I've just kind of decided it's creative enough. It's not like I'm just sticking him in front of a screen, and he's become really into it. And so we've been playing a lot of that.
Is he getting better at making levels?
He's better at platforming. He's better at playing. I think his levels are also getting better. The more that he and I have started playing popular levels on the popular tab together and stuff. And then he'll be like, oh, I want to do that. And so he's gotten really more creative too, in playing this game. And then I beat Rayman Legends. I saw the credits roll on that game.
Man, there's a lot of extra content to that game too. Past that, I would recommend playing that extra content too, because a lot of the extra stuff that they built into that game is also very, very good.
I did mess around a little bit. Like, they have some touch screen modes where you control the second character that can move things for you. And I played a little bit of that. There is so much more I can play in that game. Like, I only have like 300 of the 800 teensies rescued or whatever,
Yeah.
But I was like, it's time for me to fire up either a new game or pick up an old game now. And I started playing Dragon's Dogma.
Nice.
But I started playing it on my Lite, and I decided that it's not going to work because it has that where you push down on the stick to run and you can only move with the stick. And the Lite has the D-pad, and I'm like, you know what? I put that back up, and I was like, I'm going to play that later on my regular Switch. I'm going to find something for my Switch Lite. And I fired back up Hollow Knight, which I was really into for a period of time. And then I kind of got stuck at a boss on. And I've been really enjoying playing that again. I do find I'm not that great at games, y'all, I guess, but it is a challenging game.
Hollow Knight is hard as fuck, man.
It really is.
It frustrates me mostly that you can't save. Like, I don't want to say I'm spoiled by. I feel like the game is meant to be hard, and I get that it's like a Sekiro or like a Dark Souls. Like, the difficulty is the game, but I find it frustrating that the save system. I'm just like, after playing Cuphead or like Celeste, where these are hard games, but you just have instant respawning to do what you're doing. I find the bench saving system a little frustrating, but it's such a gorgeous game and so much fun.
If I'm being honest, that is what also broke me off of continuing to play that game. Like, I feel like that game, I totally get why people love it.
Yeah.
But that game really broke my stride in just failing over and over and over again, and then having to backtrack.
Yep.
Like, it's rough, man.
I'm on a boss right now, and the nearest save bench is it's not terrible, but it's like every time it adds on at least a minute of me running back to it and having to fight people. And it's like, man, I really hope that with the sequel to it, they change that. But I'm into it, and I'm gonna stick with it, I think, and really try to beat it this time. But that is a frustrating part of it. So that's what I've been playing.
I played through and finished. Me and my partner played through Detroit Become Human.
Oh, that's right.
And I think we finished it right around 11, 12 hours. And then have any of y'all played, Quantic Dreams games like Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls?
No, once again, we haven't.
Okay.
Last week, David gave you a hard time about it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a short-term memory. We're in COVID, and I don't remember anything you guys said.
I'm not trying to give you a hard time.
Matt's like, I don't listen to you guys on this podcast.
I don't fucking care. Just answer my question. Get off my ass. As I pour myself a drink.
Yeah. We've been drinking.
It is great. And it is a really great game to play with someone, just to how you make choices. So we found ourselves, we beat the game, and we got the good ending, the best ending, with the main character. But then we found ourselves, after we beat it, we went to YouTube and watched some of the other endings, and there's over 99 different endings.
Jeez, fuck.
Really? That many?
Based on how characters react. So it's not like a true ending of the gameplay,
Gotcha.
but an ending of a specific arc. And we just found ourselves like thinking back to all the decisions that you would have to make in order to have a character respond negatively towards a relationship. And just from like a design perspective, just appreciating all of the branching paths and the choose your own adventure style. And then watching these videos, which are like 2.5 hour, 3 hour longs playthrough of a specific tier that only covers like 10% of the game from one perspective. And there's like the rest of, 20, 30, 40 hours of the game that wasn't even covered in this one video. Just respect for that game design and just having the scope to develop a game like that was just very impressive.
Can you see yourself playing it again?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
I guess you've already seen the other ending, so there's not much of a reason to like go through it again.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we watched the other endings, because we didn't want to sit through some of the decision making, because some decisions matter, but you don't know as a player which decisions matter that affect the future. So we can't go back to those decisions and make them again. We'd have to play through pretty much everything. But I do want to go back and play Beyond Two Souls and give that a shot.
So have you not played Last of Us Part 2 yet?
No.
Bruh.
I know.
You're our guy for these games.
Well, I'm glad to be your guy, first of all. That makes me very happy. Second of all, that Last of Us, and like David, you said earlier, like Ghost of Tsushima is coming out. I don't know which game I'm going to play. Probably play Ghost of Tsushima. And then go Last of Us.
Ghost looks incredible. I'm really excited to play that. I think I will be picking that one up.
Me too.
Me personally, this week I did try to pick back up Indivisible. And I played a little bit of that, but then I kept running into those soldier enemies that are really difficult to beat. And it like, again, kind of broke my stride really early. Like, and it had been a while since I played the game. So like picking up the battle mechanics again, it was not like riding a bike. Like it very much like there was a learning curve getting back into the game. So I kind of set that down. I'm sure I'll pick that up again sometime once I can figure out how to best avoid those characters, or hopefully they patch it to fix those characters. But it's been very frustrating. I played a little bit more Infinity. I played a little bit of Animal Crossing just because I'm on an Animal Crossing improv show that's happening later this month. We'll be sure to post about that on our social channels. But yeah, we're doing an improv comedy show all in Animal Crossing. So we had a rehearsal for that, and I played some of that, and I finally got the bathing suit, and I dived for the first time, or dove or whatever. So that's kind of cool. Look forward to that show. We're doing another rehearsal this weekend. I think the show's going to be on the 25th, whatever the Friday is there. I think that's the 25th. So be on the lookout for that. That should be a fun time. You can actually see me do some comedy. And then, other than playing more Clubhouse games, which I'm always doing, I will say I've been playing more, Spirit Battles in Smash.
Oh yeah.
The DLC Spirit board is really fun because it's like specific to each game, that the DLC character is from. So you go to like that person's game and it'll have like a background and music, and like everything is thematically linked. So I played through the ARMS Spirit board, which is really fun, seeing like how they do all the ARMS characters. And I found the King of Fighters Spirit board challenge to be really fun because they like lower the jumping ability and they make everything a lot faster, so it plays more like an old school fighting game. So I've been enjoying playing through the Spirit board on that, and I've been playing some with Sasha as well. We'll like do co-op Spirit battles, and that's been a lot of fun. But then cool. Other than that, I did finally play Ruiner. Speaking of Devolver Digital, Ruiner is it's kind of a top-down cyberpunk action shooter game. that has been on other consoles for a bit and just came to Switch. And I'm enjoying it. I don't know that I'm necessarily super vibing with the game, but I love the aesthetic of it, and I love the world, and the music is incredible in that game. It just feels like a little floaty for me, the controls. Like, it's not, I feel like it's trying to be like a Hotline Miami style game with the top down kind of view and like the kind of hyper violence that it emanates, but it lacks like the super tightness of Hotline Miami. Like, Hotline Miami has one of the best like game feels that I can really think of in a really long time. It's just like every single thing that you do feels like you made that decision, and you pressed the button that threw the thing at the guy, and that led to a kind of cascade effect of all these different things that are happening with the enemies. In Ruiner, it's got a little bit of that, but it feels a little floatier, right? And it feels like not every single thing that I'm doing is paying off. There's also a dash mechanic in that game that I can't quite nail. It's different from Hotline Miami in where it's like there's some fast-paced action, and then there's also a little bit of planning on like where you're going to dash, and you can slow down time in order to make some moves. But the game also has like a skill tree mechanic in it, so I think that I'm still earlier in the game, and so I haven't quite unlocked a lot of the skills that are going to like really make the game like super fun to play. But I'm going to stick with it. Basically, I've been trying to like. Basically, I've been wanting to buy Crosscode. the new
trying to get
like
something.
Yeah, but I told myself I'm not going to buy Crosscode until I beat another game. So right now that game for me is Ruiner, and I'm trying to beat that. And then once I do, I'll reward myself with Crosscode, because Crosscode is like a 30 to 80 hour RPG. And I know if I just buy it now, it would just sit in my games library and I wouldn't beat it. So I'm trying to reward myself with that. But I did, just do my taxes, got a little bit of a tax refund. So I'll be picking up some games here pretty soon.
David, you answered my question, and I was going to ask you if you picked up Crosscode.
Yeah, not yet. That's definitely on my radar. It's a game I've been looking forward to for a long time. I just can't bring myself to beat it while I've got like both, Ruiner and Indivisible and stuff uncompleted. It's like, I've got to beat at least one of those games before I pick that game up. Otherwise, I'll just be in this never-ending hole of buying games and then never playing them. So,
well, thanks. That should do it for the show. Thanks, everybody out there, for listening. If you've got any thoughts on anything we talked about, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. Sorry, we have not played Disney Tsum Tsum Festival. Chris, if you want to find me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX. Most places.
I am on Twitter, Matthew, MATHYOU.
You can find me everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Super Switchheads on Facebook and Instagram, at Switchheads on Twitter. Make sure you join our Facebook group. It continues to pop off with lots of great discussion, as well as our Discord, which we'll have links to as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to today's super speculative episode on Super Switchheads. Hopefully, we do get that direct before our next episode. We can talk about it next week. But if we aren't talking about the direct next week, we will be talking about our impressions on Paper Mario and the Origami King. Very excited for that. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, thank you so much for listening to our show. We'll be back next week. We love you very much. Keep fighting the good fight. Keep washing those hands. Bye-bye.